Dog that failed at sniffing for contraband gets a weird new job. Before we continue with the rest of the video, we could use your help. Click the like button to help spread word about watchJojo animals, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Even for pets, life is full of second chances. When one doggy door closes, another one opens. Animals have long been beloved family pets, sometimes find themselves with opportunities they've never had before. And we're not talking a new backyard to play in or a fresh toy to chew. These animals have a job to do. For one rescued pup, his life in the workforce wasn't an easy one. When it came time to call it quits, his owner wasn't sure what his next step would be. But even in the twilight of his life, this sharp-nosed pooch embarked on a truly bizarre new career path that proved you really can teach an old dog new tricks after all. Whether it's their food, a favourite toy, or even themselves, dogs love to sniff things. And while the common wisdom among humans is that you can't always do what you love for a living, the same surely can't be said for man's best friend. All over the world, dogs and their keen senses of smell have become major tools in the field of law enforcement. These detection dogs are trained to recognise and seek out all manner of potentially dangerous contraband, illegal drugs, weapons, and even people. But even with all the necessary skills, not every dog is cut out for a job like this. Being a detection dog takes patience and self-control. In a way, these pooches have to behave more like humans than animals. For Train, a Chesapeake Bay Retriever rescue, trading in a life of abuse for one as a drug detection dog seemed like a perfect fit. But Train struggled to find his place at the training academy. He was far more interested in being a dog than a police canine. He failed out of narcotics school because he was too energetic, said Train's owner, Karen De Matteo. He was like a bull in a china closet. But Train still had one heck of a nose on him, one that De Matteo wasn't ready to see go to waste. At the time, De Matteo, a conservation biologist, was looking to gather a team of dogs for a research project in the Argentine province of Misiones. With a sniffer like Train's on her side, she'd surely find what she was looking for. Scat, also known as poop, it actually plays a major role in the work of conservation biologists. Using droppings, researchers can gather valuable information about an animal, including their species, sex, and living environment. Everybody leaves poop behind in the forest, said De Matteo. You can figure out which habitats they like and which habitats they avoid. More specifically, De Matteo and her team were looking to pinpoint the habitats of endangered animals such as jaguars and oncillas. However, this task is not an easy one if you can't track down these creatures in the first place. That's where Train came in. De Matteo hoped that the former drug dog in training could use his highly sensitive nose to pick up scat scents and lead them to the elusive animals. And as soon as the team released Train onto the trail, they got their answer. Though the dog's excitability had hampered him at the academy, Train proved that he was more than capable of excelling at his new job. Not only was he quick to pick up the scents of the animals, but his high energy helped them collect results at breakneck speed. The group spent the next year tracking animals through the Argentine wilderness, Train always happily bounding along at the head of the pack. By the time this first collection effort had wrapped, Train and his incredible nose had covered over 600 miles of forest. Train was a machine, De Matteo recalled of the dog's first year of sniffing scat. We just switched him to use all that energy and search really big areas and find this poop for us. Using the data collected from the scat, De Matteo and her team can pinpoint which forest areas should be prioritised in their conservation efforts. They can also determine if any of the animals are being affected by humans encroaching upon their land. Everywhere people are expanding, said De Matteo, we can try to figure out areas of potential overlap between humans and wildlife. We can identify areas that need more work, areas that are great corridors or areas that are kind of lost to the cause. In the past, conservationists like De Matteo would employ cameras and sensors to photograph and track animals. However, this method proved inefficient, as the creatures needed to actually pass in front of the cameras for researchers to document them. These cameras also proved to be a huge deterrent for the Argentine farmers on whose land some of the animals lived. Many of these landowners were hesitant to allow camera traps on their property, fearing that their privacy and livelihood were at risk. But with Train and a border collie named April, the farmers were very much more receptive to allowing De Matteo and her team onto their land. After all, who wouldn't want to watch two adorable pups frolic and play? They're afraid of what you're going to take their land or do something funny, said De Matteo, and we explained that we just want to look for poop and find out where animals are moving, and they're like, "Oh cool, can I come?" Even though Train just celebrated his 12th birthday, he and his one-of-a-kind nose show no signs of slowing down. Next, it's off to Nebraska for De Matteo and her dog, where their team will be tracking mountain lions. Pups like Train are changing the world with their 9-to-5 careers. Piper, for instance, a border collie from Michigan, chases thousands of birds, foxes and groundhogs off the runway at Cherry Capital Airport. Clad in noise-cancelling headphones and protective goggles, he keeps planes and animals safe. A dream job for any dog. 2. You may not have considered it, but dogs can work in tech now too. This dog helps develop video games, providing designers with realistic movements for digital puppers. We hope they copy his look too, because we'd pay anything to see this cutie. 3. Gigantic Saint Bernards were once bred in the Alps by monks to rescue people in the snowy mountains. They carried a barrel around their necks filled with brandy to keep people warm. These days they prowl the mountains as more of a tradition, but you might still be able to enjoy a cocktail or two if you find one. 4. In today's fight to protect bees, Baz, the Australian Labrador, was a legend. While protected from head to toe to avoid any stings, Baz smelled the bees and detected which ones were sick and thus a threat to the hive. He sniffed those hives like nobody's beeswax. 5. Airport security pups have to smell all kinds of people and their belongings. Your unwashed clothes, your sweaty butt, and that Swiss cheese sandwich in your bag will all be checked by hard-working security snouts, not to mention the drugs in your luggage. 6. Does this little guy look familiar? Uggy the Jack Russell was rejected by his first 2 owners, but was rescued and became a star. He was famous for woofing and waggling in water for elephants, The Artist, and an episode of Key and Peele. 7. While Uggy was of course not ugly, neither was Handsome Dan. He was the mascot of none other than Yale University, attending sports games and other school events to raise the spirit. The original Dan appeared in 1889, and the gig has since been transferred from one bulldog to the next. What an honour! 8. It's not just humans who need to protect their heads when they get down to work. This pooch who inspected holes on construction sites made sure he donned his hard hat every time he ventured forth. They don't call him a very good boy for nothing. 9. Perhaps one of the oldest dog jobs is being a sled dog. They've been around since the 10th century. Getting through deep snow by car, train, or even horse is rough, so these fit pups help people get from A to B in places like Canada, Alaska, and Greenland and Siberia. Mush mush. 10. Just when you think you've seen it all at Walmart, an overweight corgi rings you up while you're buying your weekly groceries. Better keep an eye on Courtney while she's bagging you up, especially if you're buying any puppy snacks. 11. Of course, there is also the most famous dog job, the canine position. Many tough canine officers help the police by searching for people, dogs, weapons and bodies, by bringing down runners, and by keeping their human partners safe. 12. Dogs may not have any fins, but they usually love being in the water and are pretty good swimmers. For those who aren't as skilled in the water, these pooches can come to your rescue and bring you back to shore. Being on the beach is not the worst way to spend the day for a dog. 13. A less physically exhausting gig for dogs is being a therapy animal. Playing with these poochies can help relieve stress and even treat anxiety or depression. As colleges become more focused on their students' mental health, they bring these pets to the school during exam week. Now everybody can rest easy and ace those tests. 14. While these two might look like an odd duo, they actually get along like a house on fire. Why? Because this dog spends his days protecting this chicken and several others from any potential threats, like mean old coyotes. 15. This tiny little pup does a really big service for humanity. When humans or pets go missing, especially during a disaster, search and rescue pooches like this one make it their mission to find and save them. This cutie is definitely up for the job. 16. Similar to the canine police squad, there are also plenty of dogs in the military. They can smell bombs and landmines, track enemies and protect wounded soldiers, or even drag them to safety. 17. The durian isn't a simple fruit to nosh on, and it isn't easy on the nose either. Famous for its strong stinky odour, it should probably not be sold by someone with a great sense of smell. Then again, dogs sniff butts too, so maybe they're not so picky. 18. Some people get an electric alarm system, and others get a guard dog. Most home-protecting dogs are big and strong, but these little guys might be just as intimidating. Have you ever had a Pomeranian snarl at you? Better stay out. 19. Some dogs only serve their owner, but it's still a lot of work. They can guide the blind, warn the deaf, aid the disabled, avoid injury during seizures, or even calm down people with psychological disorders like PTSD or OCD. These pooches really are a human's best friend. 20. Lil Grandma was one of many office dogs residing in New York City. When he wasn't accidentally peeing in the corner, he gave cuddles and morale boosts to everyone at the swanky media office he worked at.